discussion that we have is on what's next, procurement, looking back to look forward. Wow, I really like the way this is drafted, the topic this is drafted. And now, any which ways our speakers are kind of wearing the mics. So I'll very slowly invite them. But to sound team, in case any speaker comes on stage, you can come on stage and help them wear the mic. Okay, so let me now invite firstly the moderator of this session. Let us together with the round of applause welcome Mr. Ankur Chaturvedi, Associate Vice President, HSE, Excellence and Quality, Emami Ltd. Okay, meanwhile, our speakers are wearing mics. I would like to ask you all, what's so special about today? Since morning, I'm a social media person. I'm checking, none of them have posted about Hindi Divas. And I'm glad that we are still few of us, that we know what Hindi Divas is. And what is this? Wow. Ma'am, what's your good name? Cheryl. So happy to hear this answer. In just 1 second, you answered me, and I'm really happy about that. Yes. So 14th of September is Hindi Divas. तो मेरा मन तो था कि मैं हिंदी में वार्तालाप करूं, पर we have to stick to English for this event at least. But yes, let us never ever forget कि हमारी मातृभाषा हिंदी है. और क्योंकि 14 सितंबर को मैं आपके नॉलेज को ऐड कर देती हूँ कि इसे मातृभाषा से राजभाषा का दर्जा दिया गया था, इसीलिए इसे हिंदी दिवस कहते हैं. ओके, सो मेरी बातों के साथ हमारे सारे स्पीकर्स यहाँ पे आ चुके हैं. सो आई थिंक मॉडरेटर सर को मैं इंट्रोड्यूस कर चुकी हूँ, बट क्विकली मैं अपने स्पीकर्स को भी इंट्रोड्यूस कर देते हैं हम. ओके लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, हियर वी हैव विद अस, एज आई टेक योर नेम सर, जस्ट वेव योर हैंड सो दैट एवरीबॉडी नो यू हियर. Okay, so let's welcome Mr. Nikhil Kush, AVP Procurement, Dorf Ketal Chemicals India Private Limited. There he is. Mr. Chandan Malhotra, Corporate Procurement Vertical Head, Vodafone. There he is. Mr. Piyush, Bharatiya, Vice President, Procurement India and MEA Global Supply Chain, Schneider Electric. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Okay. Mr. Amit Singh, Director Sourcing, Merchandising, Quality and Trading Desk, Staples Category, Udaan.com. Mr. Arvindan Balasubramanian, Head Techno Commercial and Logistics, Bioenergy, Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Sumanto Bhandari, APAC, Procurement Leader. I just want to pronounce it correctly. Thank you very much, LyondellBasell. Next up we have Mr. Swapnil Pore, Head Commercial Indirect Procurement, KSA Landmark Arabia. And last but not the least, here we have with us Mr. Akshay, Rana, Chief Commercial Officer, Commodity Vedanta Limited, Lanjigarh. Okay, great. So I would like to give it over to moderator. So over to you. Let's start.
Thank you very much for introducing all of us. Now, the last session of the day would not be anything but looking backwards. We can't have anything more. There's nothing more to look forward to. Unless, of course, we know what I'm talking about. So, we have a August panel here, and all of us here have been in procurement or related things for a very long time. I would first like to start with Kush to just take us through about what his views on the evolution of procurement are.
Fair enough, yeah. Thank everyone. So, talking about evolution of procurement, if in some brief sentences I were to capture it, one, and I think most of it has been captured in a number of discussions which have taken place, but let me sort of try to again summarize it. One very clear thing which has happened and is happening now is that we are really moving from a transaction-based to knowledge-based function. This, procurement is really becoming a knowledge-based function today, right? And in this knowledge-based function, the importance of innovation, or rather say improvement. Improvement is a word which applies more to procurement basically, is very, very important. And just stretching it up a little bit more, improvement is in every aspect of procurement. Important thing here to understand is, when we say improvement, improvement is goes to the extent of packaging, goes to the extent of freight management, goes to the extent of Incoterm, goes to the extent of challenging the specifications basically. In everything, there can be umpteen examples given, but I think in the interest of time, we will not be able to dwell too much on it. But the thing is, there is opportunity in every aspect of procurement, not only in the price negotiation. There is so much to go into the details, and one really starts going into a huge amount of opportunities come into the fray basically. So this is as far as, moving to a knowledge-based. The other thing which I really feel is happening is, in procurement now, we've traditionally been a function where the focus always has been on price. And it's basically my gain has to be your loss, right? So that distributive type of negotiation, bargaining, if one gets more, the other gets less. So that has to change. It has to become integrative negotiations now, where everyone wins. And that is not going to happen till we really have an open mind, till we really adopt that culture, that leadership, that mindset, behavior, that yes, we can, it can be win-win situations basically. And again, if we go into examples, there is no end to it basically, a happy supplier who is being taken care of will give you more savings than less savings. But to begin with, it might appear less, but in the long run, you will see much more. So much development you can do with him, so much simplification, so much improvements you can do with him, which would not happen if the focus were just on that distributive thinking. And I think third one, which I would say from an evolution perspective is, we've all heard the word about sustainability. That's a fact basically, right? We have to buy sustainably, we have to think sustainably, but only thing is sustainability generally is restricted to energy conservation, that we have these now by 2030 we have to become carbon neutral, or 2050, every organization has its own goal. But then I think it's sustainability in supplier relationships also basically. I think the word sustainability also needs to include that, and it's getting included basically, because till the time both parties are in it for a long term basically, and their processes, their structures, their entire ecosystem is based around that, sustainability will not happen. Otherwise, it remains a glorified word only. And I certainly believe that most of the industry, which I am witnessing today, is beginning to think on those lines, and it's a matter of time, and it really attains the critical mass, which it has not yet today, but it will. So I think
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nikhil. You mentioned about sustainability. I agree that, yes, that's a very big evolution which has happened. And we have on our panel Arvindan here, who comes from a business which is focused on sustainability. So would you like to talk about evolution of procurement from your perspective, please?
I think I will talk in a more generalistic term before I come there to add to what he has already spoken. As a function, essentially as procurement within an organization has tremendously evolved, and in the recent times, cost as a parameter has ceased to exist at all.
Yes.
So what has happened is procurement stands for, I would say, 3-4 areas. One is, empowerment, which is digitalization, which is what brings about empowerment. It's not the procurement manager's function anymore. It's more got to do with how the user is empowered. So digitalization. Then comes is one thing which procurement is like, that statutory officer everywhere is in compliance stays with procurement. So that has become increased. So once you become more democratic, that much more importance is for the function of compliance. And then when you come to sustainability, it has many layers. I think sustainability has to be developed as an index within a company. It's not a singular feature of just emission. How supplier is sustainable, how the suppliers, when I say supplier, we don't talk just tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all levels of supplier, how is that sustainable in terms of the supplier's own business practices, in terms of labor, in terms of all the parameters. The holistic sustainability is what looked at the word as sustainable. So it's not just whether he is more carbon neutral, then he becomes sustainable. So that is also the aspect of how you are building supplier whose own business practices and the way he runs is sustainable as an organization, those are becoming key. And what kind of supplier you associate with. Why? Because eventually your product value which you are selling is also marked up based on how your supplier aspect flows into it. So that is aspect of that. Coming to purely what we are into in terms of bioenergy, see, we are transforming the landscape as, because I don't want to be a salesperson, but we are transforming the landscape as far as usage of, this agricultural waste in this country is concerned. And that is humongous. And in the years to come, this whole waste, if we are able to channelize the amount of million tons of carbon dioxide that can be moved, and India can actually become a net energy exporter very easily. We can be a Saudi Arabia without having to be importing crude in that manner. So that potential has to be organized, and I am happy to say that we have taken huge strides as a company in that sense.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Arvindan. Procurement normally is a function which faces a lot of brickbats. Normally, the very nature of what we do creates challenges. And while the challenges are at times very big, they also provide us a lot of opportunities. I would request Piyush to please elaborate on the challenges and opportunities in procurement.
Well, I think, my fellow panelists have already said about the role of the procurement. And if you look at the past to current to future, I think the role of procurement is evolving. And it's changing quite significantly. I mean, if you really look at procurement, typically an organization was responsible from source to contract and procure to pay process management, right? I think it is changing significantly. I think couple of things which are, coming as challenges as well as opportunities. And I think my, again, fellow panelists talked about sustainability, but I think I would like to talk more about risk and resilience. After COVID outbreak and the energy crisis in Europe, and I think company like Schneider, which is global in nature, we have faced huge issues in terms of getting material on time and feeding our line. And we make mission critical products which are required. I mean, I remember during COVID times, at least 2 to 3 planes were waiting on Bangalore airport for taking our UPS because US was building huge amount of hospitals. And we have realized that we cannot continue and we cannot wait for another pandemic to happen and then, act on it. So risk and resilience has played a very important role. And I think, identifying risk, maybe geopolitical risk, country risk, or financial risk of a supplier. I think all the risks are analyzed and definite action plan has been built on risk and resilience in Schneider. That is, I think, in supply chain, being more resilient is the most important aspect of the supply chain and procurement, I would say. A lot of actions have been taken on risk and resilience. I'm sure most of the organizations have their own plan, but I think that is one of the key, KPI for procurement which has evolved, I think, in recent times. Second, I think we talked about sustainability in early discussion was also on sustainability, but I think sustainability is not just about saying, it's about how do you live sustainable. Okay, and I think it's quite a big topic, but in terms of actions, what we are doing in terms of environment and social. So in terms of environment, we are working with around 1,000 strategic suppliers to identify their carbon scope 1, scope 2 emissions and working closely with them because our suppliers, this is a new topic. They are not very familiar, so working closely with them to ensure that by 2025, they are carbon neutral. Okay, it's quite a big jump in terms of carbon neutrality by 2025, but I think we are working on that. Schneider itself is also working on that. And second is the social aspect. I think social aspect is extremely important. Earlier panels, we discussed about minimum wages being paid. I think we are evolving as a country over that. I think the concept of decent work is getting very prominently talked nowadays, and I think we are following those practices. Cost of living in Bangalore, cost of living in Mumbai, Delhi versus tier 2 cities would be different. So we are analyzing what is a decent work a human being need to live and what should be his earning, which may be essentially more than minimum wages and need to be paid by our suppliers. Okay, and then our tier 2 people who are our suppliers' employees also live good quality of life is what we are currently monitoring. So I think these are things which are evolving over a period of time. I'm sure many industries will pick up. I think it is a need of the time. So challenges are many, and in terms of opportunities, I would just like to give an example. I think we talked about reduce, reuse, recycle, in terms of packaging, and packaging is one of the big element which is talked on sustainability. We use a lot of cardboard because our products are exported, and the cardboard mostly is sustainable, but we also use a lot of foam. We also use a lot of plastic. and single-use plastic, and I think that is non-sustainable because obviously it cannot be biodegradable. So we have used and developed sustainable solutions which are like is for example coir foam. So we are currently working with a supplier who will develop a coir foam for us, which will be used or replacement as a replacement of foam. It will give the same impact, but it is biodegradable, so can be classified as sustainable. Similarly, for our material which is coming to our plant, which is covered by single-use plastic, I think we are working with a supplier who the plastic, it is not a plastic, it is a paper made of cornstarch, and we can wrap our product with that and avoid from dust and other other issues. So I think a lot of innovative solutions coming up. So there is a problem, but there is also an opportunity. So I think role of procurement, as I said, has evolved over a period of time, and I think a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities also coming our way.
Thank you, Piyush. Every industry has its own challenges, and like I said earlier, procurement guys are the guys who normally face most of the challenges or a major chunk of them. Now we have with us Chandan, who's from an industry which has over the last few years not only provided us a lot of solutions, but also faced a huge challenge for the industry itself. And when it comes to procurement side, most of us don't see it because we are users of the technology and the services that you provide, but we never have visibility on the procurement side. So would you like to add on the challenges and opportunities in procurement from your perspective, please?
Thank you, Ankur. Am I audible? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ankur. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Harish Bharatiya to organize this event where we actually get to share our thoughts about future. Now, Ankur asked me a question pertaining to my industry, my sector, but I would, rather than restricting it to my sector, I would like to talk about a holistic picture.
Sure.
So I love the topic future of procurement. I'm a dreamer. So when I think about procurement, what is the future of procurement? I have to first think about what is the current situation where we are at. And when we talk about challenges, see, we all are from the same department. We are all from the same function, same arena. We know what challenges are. While we are sitting, we are thinking about them in our minds. So there are two aspects of procurement when we think about it. One is the procedural aspect, which is very clear, very crisp. And another is a strategic aspect, which is an art, a science, which is notional, subjective. Now, when we talk about procedural aspect, we all know, maybe we all know that there is nothing in the procedural aspect which is perfect, which is going on perfectly in the system. Maybe some of us may say that our process is perfect, our operations are perfect, but at least I cannot say with respect to my industry, my sector. And I believe that what I see as a picture, we are yet to achieve that mark of perfection in the procedural aspect. So first, I would say that the challenge for procurement is to make it perfect. How will we make it perfect? I know it is a huge dream to fulfill, but I think we are getting there. We are slowly getting there. So digitization is already in place. So at a time we used to think about digitization, who would digitize? We are already working with different processes. We are running fine. We don't need digitization. But I was just discussing something with somebody outside, and he told me that because of COVID, we went into digitization, and that was a boon for us. So now we are already in that phase. That data is already in place. We have just not learned to utilize that data, optimize it, and make the processes perfect. And we are getting those tools again and again from the industries. We're talking about AI, ML. Those are the tools that we have to think about. We have to learn about, use them to make the operational leg perfect. And once we do that, I think procurement leaders will get enough bandwidth to think about strategy, where actually the minds and the brains should be utilized. So yes, I think that is what I think about it.
Thank you very much, Chandan. Now, when you look at the procurement objectives, they are critical for the overall performance of the business, or they need to be absolutely aligned with the overall business objectives. Now, I would request Sumanto to please share his thoughts on what are the normal expectations of the wider business from procurement and the role of procurement within the organization.
So thanks, Ankur. I think this takes me back 20 years back, and since our topic is looking back and moving forward. Okay, so I was just trying to, look back my career last 22 odd years, just giving some glimpse of what the thought process is and what I've actually seen, When I started off, okay, in procurement, it was all operating, based at the site, managing the site, ensuring that the site's requirements are fulfilled, right? So obviously, cost, quality, service, OTIF, right? But then things started changing over a period of next 5 years. It was about, managing, standardizing, optimizing at a pan-India level. I said, okay, wow, it's increasing, it's improving, the accountability is improving. Okay, another 5 years down the line, okay, people started talking about global, regional, local. And okay, what is this new concept? Now, I've been through multiple reorganizations across multiple, companies. So very interesting observations that, okay, what is the global, regional, local? I say, yeah, so categories needs to develop globally. You need to understand what's happening at your region, but you implement locally. Okay, wow, that's something new learnings, very good. Okay, and obviously the focus on cost, as we see last 15, 20 years, a lot of pressure, okay, on the business, cost, margin, growth, environment is very tough. So the pressure on cost continues. So, so obviously procurement continues to report to, say, finance. Yeah, so now last 2 or 3 years, we see that okay, there is a significant, change in the way that procurement is perceived in the organizations, right? Now, in my own company, I've been working with LyondellBasell for last 1.5 years, very recently. So we had a new CEO, and we had again went through some restructuring. Whenever there is a leadership change, you obviously go through restructuring. I said, okay, wow, yet another restructuring. So what happens now? Procurement starts reporting into entire change in the reporting structure. Global procurement, instead of reporting into finance, now reports into business. Okay, I was literally shocked. I was saying, okay, what's happening? Okay, why procurement would report into business? We are the custodian of cost, right? So we should be reporting into finance or supply chain, and why business? But then the thought process is completely changing now. Okay, the business says that, okay, you have to deliver my objectives, and I need procurement to deliver against our objectives. So that's just to touch upon the evolution part. A lot of challenges, a lot of things that we face through internal, external challenges, right? I don't want to harp about the external challenges all of us have been through, and internal challenges also, right? Any organization that I have joined, the first challenge that I face is data kidhar hai? Okay, what are we buying? What is the spend? From whom are we buying? What has been the overall pattern? Okay, so what has been the performance of our suppliers? The answer, no answer. It's all scattered in Excel files, and so literally struggle, right? So can I have a category strategy? Okay, do you know what you're buying? Okay, the answer is no. Yes, very high level, right? But nothing documented. Right? I say, okay, are we still operating, 15, 20 years back? There are organizations we're still operating 15, 20 years, we are still back, so we need to move forward, right? So look at the technological advancements. Very surprising, it's very surprising at the pace that it is moving, And what is the awareness that we have? Do we really know what are the pain points that our business is going through? What are the pain points of our business? Whether it's operations, finance, supply chain, sourcing, what are our pain points? Okay, and how we can address those pain points? People talk about, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, cloud computing, okay, and RPA and so on and so forth. It's important that we need to understand about all these aspects, but we also need to think about what is needed by the business and what are the bottlenecks, what are the issues, pain points, and how we can use these technologies, to drive the improvement and efficiencies. Misalignments, yeah, okay, there's always been misalignments, right? Procurement, right from day one, all my colleagues, I'm sure you would agree that cost, I have to deliver my budget, PPV, cost savings, all of you would have heard about this, cash preservation, working capital, inventory, and obviously OTIF, we cannot sustain without, delivering services and goods on time, so, and improve the quality and CAPA, so that's there. But then when I talk to my stakeholders, it's a different kind of expectations, completely different. Okay, for example, so I was just talking to my head of operations. I says, okay, what's working well and what's not working well? That's what I asked basically. So I said, okay. The first thing that came to me was that I don't know what you guys are doing. The stakeholder is asking, I don't know what procurement is doing. Okay, what are your strategies? Okay, you've developed a supplier. I'm not getting response from the suppliers. The response from the suppliers are so poor. That really puts me back foot. I said, wow, okay, that's kind of an eye opener. We talk about cost, quality, service, but then here is the manufacturing head saying that I have no visibility of what procurement is doing. That's a very strong comment. That's a very big comment. Okay, and that impacts the perception of a procurement. Okay, which means that we are not engaging enough with our stakeholders to understand what their pain points are. Our KPIs are not really aligned. OTIF, does it really help? Yes, it helps in production. What after that? What about after sale service? What about response from the suppliers? Are we getting those? No. That's an eye opener, right? I was talking to my finance head. We have delivered the budget. Last year, my team has delivered the savings. So I have a new team now. So I said, savings? Look at our EBITDA. It doesn't reflect on my EBITDA. Look at the cash. Look at our share price. It's not reflecting. I'm not taking any names. I'm just talking in general. I said, it's not reflecting. Look at our gross margin of our products. We are bleeding in some of these areas. So where is the cost saving? Where it is landing? Okay, then again it puts me back. I keep wondering, what have we done wrong? But we have delivered savings. It's a good saving that we have delivered. But why business is not happy? Okay, because we have not delivered the savings where it is needed the most. Okay, we need to understand, work very closely with our stakeholders, finance, products, team to understand where we need to add value. Identify those areas and work on those areas, maybe as cross functions together, and then create opportunity for the business to increase the business share. Okay, so it was a very eye opener for me, these kind of discussions which I had with some of my stakeholders. And another thing was R&D. Okay, great, we are doing a lot of innovations, this, and I said, okay, and quality, both of this, different perspective. Okay, R&D says, okay.
Well, always there would be different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a challenge that we always face.
Absolutely. R&D says that, okay, what's the innovation? Procurement needs to bring in innovation. Quality says the suppliers are not capable enough. Right, so these are the challenges, and say though this is misalignments in the sense like the viewing angle is different, right? What the business wants and perceives.
Absolutely. I'll just take a step from you. You talked about expectations and alignment. I'll just share something about carbon footprint. Normally, I would just like to put this question to the audience. Between, if I ask for a carbon footprint in consumer goods industry, which department sits with the maximum carbon? Can anyone tell me? Anyone? IT? No one.
It's always
Procurement.
Because of the vendors, you add up.
Production? Well, supply chain becomes big, but yeah, logistics. But if you look at it, for the consumer goods industry, the type of company that I represent, where our scope 1 and scope 2 emissions are very limited because our plants do not have the huge guzzling like, let's say, the chemical industry or the steel industry or any of these big industrial setups. Our factories are small. Maximum amount of carbon is embodied carbon, the carbon which comes embodied in the product that we buy, which is a direct procurement responsibility. Unfortunately, while the sustainability team expects the carbon footprint to come down, most of the procurement professionals today don't even understand the concept of embodied carbon. So that's a thing which is a challenge in the current day. Now moving on, like what we talked about, carbon footprint, emissions is a very new thing. There are a lot of new trends which are emerging even in procurement. Amit, could you please elaborate on what are the latest trends and technologies when it comes to procurement today?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this question, and sorry for sounding like a broken record, because most of these things would have got discussed, and some of my fellow panelists have also mentioned quite a few things while mentioning either challenges or evolution of procurement and the expectations from the business. What we need to understand at this point of time largely so is, and I think most of you will agree, if not all, procurement as a function is the one which is considered as the least developed among all other functions in an organization still, largely. There has been change, and the change is for good. Procurement was just considered as a cost center. Now, we are not considered just as a cost center, but we are also considered as someone who's there for value creation. So, with this concept, and with this concept of value creation, and with the belief that this function is very important for business continuity, we are seeing all the changes that are happening in this part of the supply chain per se. And to begin this, I would just like to throw some light, and probably you will agree, that the smallest and the most pertinent change is that the word itself has changed. Earlier it was purchase, now it is procurement. It is no more operational or transactional. It has moved towards strategic. That's the change that we are talking about. That's the trend that is emerging. With the pandemic that we faced, it forced us to think how resilient is our procurement. Of course, we also looked at entire supply chain, but the first question that was asked was how resilient is our procurement. And the procurement teams which had shown resilience had also made good during the pandemic per se. Moving on a little further, we talked about artificial intelligence, cloud computing, blockchain, still in the nascent phases. But yes, these are the trends which are coming in. Blockchain gives you a distributed ledger at each point of the supply chain, wherein it brings a very clear transparency. A beginning, a very humble but a good beginning. Cloud helps you analyze, check the data from any part of the globe, no location constraints. Right? And similarly, if we talk over overall artificial intelligence, you can help it in the form of bots which can do your repetitive jobs, can analyze the big data for you and help you move it, take it forward. Digitization. Every aspect of supply chain, even in procurement, right from the point of raising request for quotation, we are seeing that it is getting digitized, and for the benefit of one and all, from e-sourcing, spend management, whatever you want to call it as. But still I would like to give you a data, and this is a study from various people who have done, various institutes, various organizations, which says roughly 70% of our organization believes that digitization is important. Believe that 70% of it is important. We need to see how much it has already been adopted. It's not 100% who believe that digitization is important. So there is a long way to go again there. Yeah? Big data, another concept which is talked about, much talked about, very, very important. Right analysis of data. Why so? Just to take a very informed decision, which will help you in taking the right steps for your organization. The panel just before us talked in detail about sustainability. I would not like to discuss more about it, but yes, we all know why it is important, what role it is playing. Any organization which is listed or which is into exports are bound to follow certain rules on or norms on this sustainability front.
Thank you.
Risk management, just a couple of risk management. Each point of supply chain and procurement is fraught with risk. And we need to identify and keep looking at those risks and keep identifying the measures which can help in removing those risks, or let's say reducing those risks to the extent possible. Last but not the least, and again taking from what Sumanto said, I am giving you a saving, but that saving is not, coming in my bottom line or in the business. Why? Because it is not seen as a collaborative saving. Probably the stakeholders, the internal and external stakeholders are not at the same page. We are all not discussing the same thing. All this is basically reflecting into a very agile supply chain or procurement that our organization is looking at.
Thank you.
So I think those are some of the thoughts that
Thank
I
you,
had.
Amit. I'd just like to add a small one-liner. Analysis without accurate data leads to paralysis. And whatever he talked about, now we have the technology to get the right data. Akshay, my friend, is sitting very far away from me, and I'm sorry, Akshay, I didn't forget about you.
No issues.
But would request you to please share your thoughts on it.
So, Ankur, basically, Amit have covered all the things, but when we say that what was the procurement in past and where we see in future, so again, we are missing a basic thing, that is the people.
Yes.
Still, in the past also, people were not trained up to that level before putting on the job. Same is today also, which needs to be changed for our better future. So, all the people joining in, team members in the supply chain, first we have to give them a basic training of the supply chain, that what is the supply chain is. Yes, there are right now institutes are there, a lot of awareness is there regarding the supply chain. But again, when it comes to on-job training, that is not there. We expect the results without giving them a proper training and bringing them to a mindset. Second, yes, digitization, on which Amit told everything. But again, right decision at right time. That is one of the motto which is for the future is there. And that is the use of all the digitization, all the cloud computing, analysis and use of AI. Everything is there. Now coming to the third point, again on collaboration, all people have spoken. But collaboration doesn't mean that just to bring our partner on the same table. Collaboration also means that, yes, how we can reduce the cost of our partner, because that is the cost itself being billed to us. So reaching out supplier to reduce our supplier cost, so that directly impact our cost. Then last and least, again on risk mitigation there is, but how many people can say that yes, they are not having a single source? Everybody will say yes, I am not having a single source partner. But when we say on location, yes, it is the same location. So we have to move to a multi-location. There is a live example of the semiconductor industry. When China was disruptive, everything on the semiconductor was on hold. So yes, maybe there can be a cost impact, but the business continuity is the most important. As a supply chain professional, for us, business continuity along with cost, that we have to do. So these are the basic futuristic trends from my end.
Thank you very much. We are running short of time, so I'm sorry we have to curtail our session. There was a very in-depth, interesting discussion going on, but well, I'm sure we don't want to be misaligned. I'll just to sum up the few things which were discussed here. Initially, Nikhil started with the concept of sustainability, not just in environmental sustainability, but overall sustainability of the business. Another topic that we dwelled on was the technology. The next big thing that comes out of our discussion right now is synergy and alignment within the organization. And last but not the least, collaborative sourcing, where we collaborate with our suppliers and just not look at the L1. So I thank all my panelists, I thank the hostess, and I thank the organizers for inviting us. Thank you very much.
And I have my mic on. Special thanks to you, sir. I asked you and you just, wrapped it on time.
thank
Thank
the
you
panel.
very, very much. I'm honored Okay, on that note, this wonderful panel discussion comes to an end. Because sir has, followed the time limit, we have a window of one question, which is just 2 minutes. If anybody wants to, we have a very short time. Please throw your last question.
And please mention the panelist you want to
panel,
answer.
Yes. Just one question, we have to do it very quickly.
Well, we all talk about the sustainability and as a procurement, what we understand, show me the money. So when the profitability is not sustainable, how can we make sustainability sustainable?
Who are you asking?
Entire team.
This is always a trade-off. There is always a trade-off between sustainability and ROI, right? So
do you know any promoter who can trade off between profit and the other thing?
Okay, let me give you a very controversial answer. All of you have heard of.
I'm expecting controversial answer from you.
Yes, you know me well enough to know that. And please excuse me. What I'm going to say is going to be very controversial. The 3P concept of triple bottom line approach is nonsense. Business is there for profit and profit alone. If there is no profit, there cannot be business. But I'll just take a moment to explain. None of us can survive if we don't breathe. We need to breathe to be alive. If I stop breathing, I will be dead in a few minutes. But whose purpose of life is breathing? How many of us are alive only to breathe? That's where sustainability comes in. I hope I've answered your question.
We'll discuss outside.
Most welcome.
That's a special thing about inquisitive people. They are never satisfied with any of the answers. They want a long discussion, then only it may, give them a soulful.
Ankur and me have 10 years engagement, so he knows that what answer I'm looking for.
All right, sir. Okay, with this, we have come to an end of this very interesting panel discussion. And now it's time for us to present the token of thanks to all our speakers and our moderator. But firstly, I'd like to request Ankur sir to kindly come and present the memento to all our esteemed speakers. I would want you all to give a round of applause as we present a memento to one by one all our speakers. And everyone, I would want to tell you that sharp at 7:15 p.m. onwards, the 15th Express Logistics and Supply Chain Leadership Awards will begin. So just prepare yourself up for the award night, how you know it better. And secondly, tomorrow, the sessions in all 3 halls will begin sharp at 9 a.m. So everybody be here on time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chandan. Thank you very much.
Sir, I'd now like to request you, if you can present the memento to our moderator, Mr. Ankur Chaturvedi, please. A big round of applause for Ankur, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this insightful panel discussion. And on that note, we are done with the day. Day 1 went really good. And we're looking forward to see you tomorrow sharp at 9 a.m. And yes, group photo. So everybody, please come forward for a group photo. Leader Summit comes to an end. And as I've announced earlier, 7:15 p.m. sharp, the award begins at the main ballroom. So everybody, prepare yourselves for the grand award night coming up. Best wishes to all of you. And I'd like to see you all sharp at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Be on time. Thank you. And on that note, this is me, your MC Vyoma Parihar, saying bye-bye to all of you. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great evening.